celebrate their accomplishments with their school and their community, especially during these trying times. Finally, and most important, we want to listen to you. Tell us how you are doing. And as a reminder, you will need to raise your hand, and Kelly Christian will be facilitating the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisa Marie, for the update on things at MSA. We're going to open the floor up to you now. So if you have something to share, please go ahead and raise your hand. Maybe some of our international schools who've been dealing with this a few weeks longer than some of our domestic schools might be willing to introduce themselves and get the discussion started. While you are thinking about that, I just wanted to give you one more note that our staff will be taking notes on the themes and the resources, the advice shared here today. So we will be working together at the conclusion of this webinar to see what better ways we can support you and ways we can connect you with each other. I'm going to ask my colleague Priscilla to give us a little background, as she's been working with our international schools now for since January, the beginning of January, when we started dealing with this crisis overseas. So Priscilla.
Thank you very much, Kelly. It is a pleasure to see all of you, and really looking forward to hearing your voices as well, because the voice always tells us how well we're doing. These are very, very challenging times, and I know that you have been making minute-by-minute decisions, and you are our everyday heroes, not just for the students in your schools and the teachers and the parents, but also for your entire community, and we thank you very much for doing that. I know of several people who are participating, and I strongly, strongly encourage them to tell some of their stories about perseverance and decision-making and beliefs in what it is that you've been doing and how you've been communicating with your public, and how this whole notion of an emergency, for whatever reason, an emergency virtual school with your teachers and students is not necessarily a new idea. It's something that if you live in a place where, and teach and are responsible in a place where there could be some civil unrest, you have this pretty much down pat. So anyone who wants to raise their hand, I strongly, strongly encourage you. I know there are not shy people in this group. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
And to give a little background, Lisa Marie walked through the timeline for MSA. Our first schools in the world closed actually in December for this crisis, late December, early January in China, and moved straight through to Europe in February. And our schools here locally have been closed since early March. I know across the US, it's been a bit more recent for different areas. Can I ask any of our other associate vice presidents or AVPs who are our school liaisons, if you have some experiences maybe you can share from your schools that you've been working with or things that you've been seeing? We'd love to hear from you, and you can raise your hand as well, and I can call on you. So if any of our AVPs have something to share. Don't be shy. I know that it's uncomfortable to get used to speaking kind of in this format of speaking on video and sharing, but school heads, we really need to hear from you to get the conversation going. Michael, thank you so much. We're gonna go to Michael Smith in Valencia right now. Thank you, Michael.
Well, everybody knows that I am the shy and bashful type, so I guess I will get started. So welcome to everybody, and thanks for joining. It's an unusual time for all of us in education, but what I can suggest is that one of the most comforting things that is taking place now is how educators from all over the world are really, number one, taking care of our families and our students and our staffs, but also we're taking care of one another, and the amount of sharing of ideas. I don't think in my career I've ever seen schools share so much information about such a critical topic. So it's been very reassuring that none of us are in this alone. Number two, we started actually planning in February, sort of seeing this coming. We thought we were exceptionally well prepared. And then when implementation time came, we found that probably like other schools, we had a lot of kinks to still work out and a lot of other questions, logistics that we had not answered. So, you know, we're learning on the go, but I would suggest that we're learning well. We ask for a lot of feedback from our families and our students. Right now, we are in our third week of going virtual learning, and so we send weekly surveys to our families and students. We go back and we regroup. We really try to take this as constructive feedback, and it's really helped us a lot to make adjustments, especially for students. There is a little bit of a paradox going on, at least in our school, that previously to this crisis, uh, parents were typically saying that students were getting too much homework at night, and now we're sort of receiving feedback that students are not getting enough now that parents are having to watch their own kids at home. So it's a little bit of interesting conversation that's going on. Our biggest challenge has been probably where most schools are challenged is in early childhood. You know, how do you deliver a virtual learning platform to students that are 3 and 4 years old? And that's probably where we've had the most concern from our families. Here in Spain, it's been one of the countries most affected in the world. We have been in lockdown, I mean, true lockdown mode since mid-March. But we cannot really go out on the street. We're not allowed to congregate or go out in pairs. We can't drive our cars. There's police stops, and so it's been challenging. We can go shopping, and that's about it. But otherwise, one of the great things that has happened for our school community is it has gone back and forced us through unseemly circumstances to really go back and look at what is essential in our curriculum, and one is at education, review our procedures, but also how we come together as a school community. And so when we look at things like the importance of standardized testing, it actually tends to be not as important in times like this. And also, how do we really collaborate as a school community? So we're doing well. We hopefully that we are plateauing now in Spain, and that things will start getting back to normal. But I think I'm an optimist, and I would estimate that maybe we could go back by the second week of May. So thanks for everybody, and it's great to see everyone. Thanks, Callie and
Thank you so
Priscilla and
much.
Lisa Marie.
Thank you, Michael. A quick follow-up question. What platforms are you all using for your communications? For both school and for communicating with your parents and your students?
Well, we predominantly we use G Suite for education for most of the schools. So we use it a lot through Google Meet. We meet a lot. I know some people like Zoom, and that's fine. And then for us, I mean, we also use Google Forms to do surveys with our families. But then, you know, also send. Now we're sending twice weekly communications to all our families just to keep everybody in the loop, including good news, sharing nice comments from families and students and teachers to keep that positive mentality going. And for that, we use MailChimp.
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Michael. Stay well there in Spain. Okay, we're going to go next to Debbie Downs. Debbie, I'll let you introduce yourself because I know you have a lot of titles there. So I'll let you introduce yourself to the group. Thank you.
Hi, all. Okay, I'm unmuted, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I am the accreditation lead for an organization, International Schools, Quality Schools International. We have 36 schools, and I am also the child protection lead. So that's what Kelly's talking about, with many titles. We have schools in China. So our first school started closing in January. And then we've had schools actually just as recently as last week, our final school closed in Tajikistan. So a lot of the stands are not reporting cases of coronavirus. So it took a lot longer to close down our schools there. We've had, the whole gamut. So feel free to ask a question. Some of our schools, like here, so I'm in Slovenia, and here we border Italy. And I think that the Slovene government learned a lot from the Italian government and shut down pretty quickly and got people in their homes, so that the rate of infection here has been pretty low, thankfully. So most of our teachers and students are in country. So we're running a lot of synchronous classes online here. In other places like Turkmenistan, where most of our teachers got out only because the US Embassy chartered a flight and let our teachers onto the flight, and they were able to leave. Because Turkmenistan, I don't know if you've heard, but the president of Turkmenistan made it illegal to say the word coronavirus. So they have no cases there. It's amazing. And so basically no expats, any expats who could get out of Turkmenistan did. So they're doing very asynchronous learning because they're spread all over the globe. We're using everything Michael said to keep in touch with people and more. Schoology, Seesaw, Class Dojo. Oh my gosh. So the other thing, we're trying to be GDPR compliant, and of course Zooms come under fire a lot for their privacy things. So we're trying to figure out if we can keep using Zoom, or if we need to ask our organization to switch to something else when students are involved. I think with adults it's fine. It's just when students are involved. And then I also fully agree with what Michael just said about, it's very interesting to see the length of time a school's gone to online learning. We see that same wave of like gung-ho teachers at the start giving way too much work, not like with the best of intentions, just trying to keep their students up to speed. And then the parent community saying, oh my gosh, my kids can't do this. And that's such a rarity at international schools to hear parents saying, please give my children less work. So the teachers are having a hard time doing that because they're used to the opposite. They're used to parents saying, my kid doesn't have enough homework. So yeah, we're trying to also dial back on that. And I'm hoping that the schools at the further end of the wave of closure are going to learn from the schools that closed first and give a little less work.
Thank you
Any
so
questions?
much, Debbie. It's quite
Sure.
the added layer managing multiple. How many countries are your schools in?
30.
30 countries. And I had not known that about Turkmenistan. Very interesting. Puts it all in perspective.
Check YouTube. It's hilarious. I mean,
We all have things to be grateful in our various locations for. So better to focus on that than the negatives, right? Thank you very much, Debbie. We're going to go next to Candace McKinnon. Candace.
Hi there. Is my mic on? Yeah, okay. Hi there. So I'm also from Spain, so a special hi to Michael. Yeah, I'm in Granada in the south of Spain, and we're in the situation of being a particularly fragile school because we're very, very small. We have an enrollment of 60 children, and we're trying to navigate through the financial mess that this leaves us in, basically. Our parents have been pretty supportive. The children have actually adapted pretty well, considering that we're, a large percentage of our children, about 60%, are early childhood. And yeah, I think we've done pretty well. We started basically by moving very slowly onto the digital sort of platforms, basically mainly Zoom and even WhatsApp, actually WhatsApp video calls and things, because in Montessori we're kind of very much against everything digital for young children. So it's been a real challenge for teachers and for parents, because on the one hand we don't want to kind of go against our own philosophy, but on the other hand, we need to be flexible and adapt to this new situation. So we're kind of trying to figure this all out, the educational side of it, as well as all the financials. So on the one hand, we've got parents saying that this is not the service that they signed up for. Some parents are saying, we don't want it. Thank you very much, but our children, we don't want to expose them to screens and so on. We're trying on the other hand to say, well, we want to keep our community together, and we're prioritizing right now connection above all. For the older students, it's actually not too bad. The elementary students that we've got, those families have been super supportive, even families that prior to this, for example, were against their children ever having a photo taken of them or being on any kind of screen, are now actually completely open and accepting of having Zoom lessons, which is amazing. But yeah, we are really in crisis mode right now, trying to figure out getting a balance between asking parents for fees especially now at the beginning of April, it was really hard to ask them for fees, and to provide a service that isn't actually against our own philosophy. So yeah, anyway, so that's our feedback from us. It's been really hard, and I'm not sure. I think as we go, we're kind of changing what we give and how we deal. In terms of connecting with families, with parents, what I've set up is basically a weekly parent kind of help support group on Zoom, where parents can give us feedback, like live feedback on the service that they're getting, and also just in terms of how they're experiencing the whole crisis. Because as Michael reported, our lockdown is pretty sort of severe. And so for people who, many of our families live in flats, with some of them with no balconies even, and the children are simply not allowed to even go out. They may not go outside. So this is very, very tough. And yeah, anyway, so it's kind of, we're trying to give families a forum to speak to us and let us know what they need. The needs seem to be, please give us less information. We can't cope with so many emails and so many activities. And so now we're trying to change it. So for our early childhood, we're literally doing it on a day by day. So the day before, we give a list of activities and parents sort of run with it, as well as very short Zoom classes, because we find that the little ones just can't really cope. So that's about it from me, really.
Thank you so much for sharing, Candace. I think the financial theme, whether or not everyone brings it up, I think is on everyone's mind for every school and organization. I think it's probably a bit soon to know the impact on all of us, but I think no one will be outside of there being an impact. So I think that's definitely one of the themes that we've seen is a strong piece on people's mind. As soon as the virtual school shift happened, that's kind of the next consideration. So, and really interesting to think about early childhood and also Montessori and the philosophical difference between moving things onto a virtual platform. So thank you so much for sharing your experience, and please stay well in Spain.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go next to Heba or Heba. My apologies for if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. You're unmuted. Heba? Heba? Okay, we will come back to you. We're gonna go next to Shirley. Shirley, you are unmuted.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm at Shirley Drazy. I'm the Director for Teaching and Learning at the American Embassy School in New Delhi. And we have just started our third week of total, we're calling it continuous learning. We actually had a spring break week last week. So it gave our staff and our families, we had 2 weeks of pretty intense launching of online learning, and struggling and scrambling to, sorry, hang on a minute. Struggling to get things launched and off the ground. And most people in that first week of online learning were in Delhi, although by the end of that first week, there were probably about 75% of our staff and families still in Delhi. And now this week, the U.S. Embassy and a number of the other embassies in Delhi have been sponsoring repatriation flights. So we think that by the end of this week, those percentages will have flipped. So we'll have about 25 to 30% of our faculty and families still in Delhi, maybe 40. And others are in their home countries. So there's been some transitioning going on with all of that. The Indian government closed schools and has, closed a lot of things, airports and transportation and things in the last couple weeks. And the the target date for waiting to hear what the next phase will look like is April 15th. The school made the decision last week to continue online learning through the end of our school year, which is the end of May. And we're still leaving it open that we may open campus to some degree in the last few weeks of May, possibly. That's really up in the air right now because so many people have left. And of course, we have such an early start to the school year that it kind of calls into question, will we really be opening or will we be virtual yet? Because students start again in August 5th, I think it is. So, it is a learning curve for everybody. We've done a lot of different modes of communication as well. We've had an online questioning forum for people, and various administrators are watching over that to answer questions that have come in. Last night, I'm in the States right now, but last night, our morning in Delhi, we had the monthly directors PSA coffee, and we probably had about 67 parents and faculty people online for it. And we are now moving to having that as a weekly communication device. And that was very much appreciated. And we're using a lot of the platforms that others have mentioned already as well. I think we have to be flexibly minded through this whole thing. And the piece that Jim talked with everyone about last night, and he's been saying all along, is you need to give everyone a lot of grace. And I think by the end of the conversation, when parents could hear what the issues are for teachers and for doing lessons online, as well as the load for students, the chat at the end of the session last night was very clear that parents were seeing that there's issues on all fronts for people. So I think we all keep up, and I certainly have appreciated all the curating of information that different colleagues around the globe have been doing, so that, because it is it's overwhelming for everyone to be thinking about putting together your messaging and or your lessons, as well as figuring out who do you listen to. So very good. Thanks for everyone's support.
Thank you so much, Shirley. I could not agree with you more on the give grace. This is a Post-it next to my computer for this whole crisis. So I think we need to be giving a lot of grace to others and also to ourselves during this time period. And I was wondering how light was coming through your window at this time of day in India. So it makes more sense that you're in the States.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for sharing your comments.
Sure.
We're going to go back to Ziba. Ziba, I'm sorry, Hiba, I'm unmuting you. Hiba? Okay, I know we're communicating on chat, but I think we're having a technical issue. So if you want to chat in your question or comment, I'm happy to share that with the group. I also had a chat in from Alexis Torres. So Alexis, I'm going to go to you and unmute you now if you'd like to share with the group.
Yeah, hello everyone. Glad to see you, that you're well. Here in Puerto Rico, the situation appears to be under control. We have about 600 positive cases, and it's growing about 10 to 15% per day. I think it's, according to the scientists, it's supposed to peak in probably about 10 days. And Forward Learning has been supporting approximately about 30 schools, both in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and also in Spain. Our role has changed from a technology integration company to a distance learning coach. And basically, our people have been very, very busy. We've been asked also by the Puerto Rico Department of Education to help them in a number of tasks. So we're keeping very busy, and hope and thank God healthy. And I hope you all are. We're doing a lot of work with Microsoft Teams, and then with the younger ones, we were using Edmodo, Seesaw, Padlet, a number of platforms and apps that have been very helpful, and always trying to emphasize that this distance learning modality is different, and it's not to be used as a class, a regular class, and that we shouldn't overwhelm students and parents, because parents also get to do a lot of work. Again, I'm happy to see that everyone's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Thanks for sharing. Good to know that you're doing well. We're going to go next to Ben Troge. Ben, you're unmuted.
Hi, thank you. My name is Ben Troge. I'm the high school principal at Divine Savior Academy in Doral, Florida. That's a suburb of Miami. We are a pre-K to 12 academy. And just as I'm also a board member for the Association of Independent Schools of Florida. So we have talked a lot about early childhood and the struggles that are going on with there. To give you a little bit more context, I'm able actually to see this firsthand. We are now, as you can see, I'm at home. I have 5 children at all levels. Pre-K, kindergarten, 3rd grade, 8th grade, and a sophomore. And so I'm able to see firsthand what it's looking like. Our school has gone to using exclusively Microsoft Teams. And then delivering at the middle school and high school level, we've been delivering 2 synchronous days of 35-minute classes that are mandatorily attended, Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays are asynchronous lessons with about a 5 to 10-minute video from the teachers that they put into Teams. And then Friday is voluntary attendance from our middle school and high school kids. At the early childhood and elementary levels, the teachers are providing daily check-ins, which last maybe about 30 minutes total through Zoom, so that all the kids can see their faces. One of the things that we've recognized is the biggest challenge for the kids themselves is not being able to see their friends and those challenges that go along with that. And since I had mentioned it, obviously, seeing that with my little ones especially, it proves to be a challenge. I guess my question for the group is, and this is something that as soon as this meeting is done, I have a Zoom meeting with my high school admin team. What we're trying to figure out is what to do, especially for our seniors. What kind of special activities can we provide for them between now? We know that we can't go back to school until after May 1. That the governor shut that down for sure. We're anticipating that this is probably going to go until the end of the year. I mean, you guys pay attention, the states are shutting it down here and there and everywhere. But what I'm mostly concerned about are my seniors. And not that I'm not concerned about the other ones, but they're missing prom, they're missing their senior walk, they're missing all these different special events, even just National Honor Society things. So my final question, what are some things that people are planning and doing for their seniors primarily? Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Ben, and thank you for that question. I'm sure that all of our schools on the line that have seniors are mulling over the same question. I've seen some really interesting things on social media that are being done, but I think it would be great. Uh-oh, what is happening here? I don't know if that was the infamous issue or if that's just a mistake, but I'm gonna try to manage whatever just happened there with the sharing of the screen. But I know a lot of other people are dealing with how to best manage seniors that are graduating. So if I'd ask, we have one other person that's gonna share now, but while that person's sharing, if some of you that have come up with ways to manage this or do this, if some of you would be interested in sharing and providing that feedback to Ben and to the rest of the group, that would be really helpful. So I'm going to go back. I think we have sorted out the tech issue with Heba. Heba, let's try this one more time. Heba, are you there?
Okay, can you hear me, guys?
We can.
Oh, thank God. Okay. So I was just, I'm sharing this here from Egypt. I can see from what I heard that most of us, we are sharing the same problems, which is really interesting because it gets me to think how the world, after all, is such a small place, and the problems we're facing here, we're facing everywhere else. So as soon as we started this problem, one of the things we are doing now is we are working on spot every single day, having to deal with a lot of problems, a lot of parents complaining. Like said, talking, are we asking for fees now? Should we ask about fees now? But at the same time, the schools need to operate. Teachers talking about the pacing guides. Are we going to finish our curriculum? Are we going to finish what we agreed upon in the beginning of the year? Of course, it's totally different now. We also trying to elicit what's important from our curriculum so we can share with our students what's important, so that next year we don't have like a whole grade levels who are missing a lot of information. But again, if this happened, the whole world is facing the same situation. So we were also, the parents are, for example, the parents are starting to see at some point the importance of school and how teachers are important in the lives of their kids. Because before, we were just, nobody saw what we're doing in school. Everyone else was talking about like the kids will go finish their homework and that's it. But now parents actually are going with us through the whole process, from the very beginning of taking a lesson, explaining, giving homework assignments, doing this, doing that. So yes, as we get like a lot of emails from parents, we're doing so much, this is too much, you're not doing your job, this is not what we signed for. At the same time, other parents would send us like nice, sweet emails about understanding what we're going through and what we're doing. Like, I'm sorry, parents have 2 kids at home and they're complaining that they cannot do this. We have like hundreds of students every day in school, and we are doing it every single day. So I guess this, what's happening now, if it's a bad thing, and hopefully everything ends soon, but it's at the same time, it's an eye-opener. From what's happening, we're also learning new things that we're going to apply next year in our school system. We're finding flaws and things that started work. What I want to share is, I'm not glad, of course, Yani, I'm happy that we're all facing the same looking for it. This is opening a lot of things about each teachers and students and
Heba, we're losing you a bit. Could you turn your camera off and maybe the audio will be better?
But we also need to give back and okay, is it better now? Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I was just asking if we can share any ideas about feedback and how you send feedback to students, especially the younger ones. And I think that hopefully you heard what I said. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad we got the technical concerns to work themselves out. We're going to go next to Deborah. Deborah, I'm unmuting you.
Hi, I'm Deborah Sortizio. I'm Delaware Military Academy. So we're a charter school that serves grades 9 through 12 in the state of Delaware. We're in shutdown mode at this point, have been for about 3 weeks. Our teachers have been absolutely amazing in making the jump very quickly from, we didn't even have a one-to-one environment to completely virtual. We're doing asynchronous learning at this point because what we found is a lot of our kids who worked part-time in grocery stores and those kinds of things, they're now considered essential workers in the state, and they've gone from working 2 or 3 hours after school to working 6 and 8 hours A lot of our kids are sharing resources with their parents as far as technology is concerned. So we are not allowing any of our teachers to do any real-time synchronous learning with the kids. Everything is either pre-recorded or they're required to put their stuff out by 10 a.m. every morning. Our biggest problem has been on the back end as far as the timing on getting assignments back into the teachers. For many of our 9th and 10th graders, 24 to 48 hours is plenty, but for our upperclassmen who are working and are considered essential workers, we have a lot of kids who are EMTs and volunteer firefighters. They're all considered emergency personnel, so their lives have been turned upside down. We've done a great job with it. Ben, we're having the same thing as far as trying to figure out all our military traditions and our graduation and those things that are very special to our seniors, how we're going to do that, because we found that it's really important at this point that the kids have the hope that we're coming back. So we're planning for those and making revisions. Senior prom is going to be scaled down. Instead of being junior and senior, it's going to be senior if we are able to go back, but it's going to be provided by the school for seniors only. It'll pare down to like hors d'oeuvres instead of a meal, because we know that a lot of our kids, their parents just lost their jobs. We're in shutdown until May 15th, so it's a big commitment at this point for us as far as hoping to get them back before the end of the school year. However, my co-chair is also on this call, and I know our biggest concern right now is that we were doing a great job as a school in our reaccreditation, and we are in the throes of that, and now everything's kind of gotten pushed on the back burner, as we should be in the throes of setting our goals and those kinds of things. So we're really struggling with how we as a school ask our teachers to focus and our community to focus on that when we're so wrapped up in just trying to meet the basic needs of educating our kids right now.
I think it's a great question, Deborah, and I'm happy to let, I'm not sure who your contact is at MSA. Do you know who your liaison? Tim?
I think so.
Tim, I'm not sure if you're on the line and if you want to address that question, but I will tell you that we have schools that are going with any timeline. We have schools that want to use this time they're in the mindset that they want to use this time to move forward quickly. We have schools that need to table it for understandable reasons. And I can assure you from a leadership team perspective that we're being very flexible in our approach to reworked timelines for schools that need it. But Tim, I'm going to unmute you if you are there in case you want to add anything to that, since this is your school.
Yes, I'm here. Deborah, good to see you. I will be sending you an email because to address your questions and see how I can assist you. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to jump off here because I have another Zoom meeting training with a school that is about to begin in 10 minutes. So Deborah, I will be reaching out to you and we'll work something out. We're not going to let you hang out there.
Thank you.
And we, all of our staff are currently working through their schools. We, as Lisa Marie mentioned in the beginning, we had close to 100 schools that were hosting teams this spring, which obviously did not occur. And so, so far we've been directly in communication with any volunteer or school affected by that shift. And over the course of this week, we're organizing to work with all the schools. I assume you would have had a fall visit scheduled, Deborah?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to be reaching out individually to every school over the next week or two to discuss with the schools one-on-one, are you ready to go in the fall or do you need to push back? Because we don't want to just give a blanket extension, obviously for schools if they're ready to move forward. But for schools that need the extra time, we're absolutely extremely aware of the fact that this isn't priority number one.
Right.
So,
Yes, and as Kelly had just indicated, that flexibility and our commitment to individual attention to each of the schools is very important to us. We want to understand your needs and your concerns. So that's why we're asking each of our accreditation liaison folks to talk to the individual schools if they do have a question, no matter what type, whether it's a visit in the fall or a visit in the spring of 2021, because this does change timelines for a lot of different schools. So as we indicated, very flexible and very open. We want to hear from you and we will be happy to chat with you separately.
I I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa Marie, and thank you everyone for your patience as we're kind of triaging through our 2,600 schools around the world as we work through. And so all of you with fall visits scheduled, you'll be hearing from us very shortly. So thank you, Deborah. I'm going to go now to one of our staff members, Dr. Angela Rufo, who's going to share with us.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. I was just going to say what you and Lisa Marie said, for the schools not to hesitate to contact us. That communication is always important, but especially now, so that we can support your needs. And also to address Ben's question, I was contacted by my high school as an alumna, and they are asking everyone to send them notes that they will send to the seniors, notes of encouragement and congratulations and support. And in that email that asked for those notes, they said they will be having a prom and they will be having a graduation. Not sure when, but they are definitely planning on having those both of them. But they are asking for the alumni to send notes, and they will share them with all of the seniors just to give them support at this difficult time for them.
Thank you, Angela. And I saw something today on social media that I thought was an interesting idea. St. John's School in Puerto Rico, I believe, is choosing a senior of the day. Now, of course, depending on how large your senior class is, that might be a bit unwieldy, but they're doing almost like a yearbook page kind of design for each senior on all of their social media platforms every day, which I thought was a nice tribute and homage. And so people are commenting in with their congratulations and good luck next year and all of those things. So it's interesting to see. This crisis is certainly yielding a lot of creativity as we all have to work outside of our typical bounds. Any last questions? We're getting close to the end of the hour, and I'm going to turn it back in just a minute to our president, Lisa Marie, to close us up. But I do want to let you know that we have been taking notes on what you've been sharing, some of the common themes. We're going to be sitting together to talk about what other kind of webinars, resources, spaces for sharing that we can provide. I think someone mentioned earlier how edifying it is to see how much resource sharing is happening. And so we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We really just want to be connecting people to one another. And I think that is the goal of this hour, and I hope the goal of any of the future things that we put together. Any last questions? It looks like we have one other person that wants to share. So let me go down to Tara. Tara, if you'd like to share. Unmuted you. All right, let me just give it a second here. Tara?
Okay, I think I'm good.
Oh, there
Hi,
you are.
everyone. Sorry, it's dark here. I'm in South Africa. I wanted to share the Serve Learn Challenge with you guys to share with your teachers and students. It's our way of trying to help support and generate, more generosity during this time, and we look forward to sharing that with you. I've shared the links in the session there, so if you could share that with everyone. I'm not sure who's on the panelists to share that. I might have put it in the questions. So yeah, get in touch. I'm happy to support your students. I've lost a lot of work in, my consulting's all been cancelled for the rest of the year, so I'm available. I'm moving countries and trying to pack up and help with my kids at home, but I'm here to help our MSA schools. So do let me know how I can help with service learning with your school.
Great. Thank you, Tara. It looks like Dan Rufo on our staff is going to share as well. Dan?
Hello, everyone. I know we don't have a ton of time left, but I wanted to present a question that was a big part of the conversation last week for everyone, particularly heads of schools and board members and whatnot. But the question is, what are you doing, or are you doing anything to promote the mental health of your staff? We heard a couple little things here and there, but I really just wanted to see if anybody was doing anything that they wanted to really promote themselves and promote ideas in looking at the health of the teachers in particular.
Thank you, Dan. I think it's a good question. We did hear a lot today about how we're supporting the parents and the students. And I know it's on every leader's mind how they're supporting their staff, but it would be great to hear a little bit about that. So let's go to Ben. It looks like he has something to share. Ben?
Obviously, each school has their own mission and vision. Ours is a Christian school. And so what we've done is we've divided up into teams with team leaders who are doing weekly or like by every 2 to 3 days, checking in with their 10 to 13 teachers that they've been assigned, and really just asking 3 basic things. 1, how are you? 2, is there anything I can help you with? And 3, is there anything I can pray for you for? And so however it is that you work it out with your school and your philosophy, we did it by dividing up into 13 key people who wanted to take that responsibility on. And then they're charged with just checking in with these teachers every 2 to 3 days.
Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate that. Anyone else have comments on that topic? And please feel free to chat it in. Chatting for the record will stay on the record as well. So thanks for those that are chatting in. And I'm sure it's really different. I know some of the international schools are commenting. It's so different if your teachers obviously are also out of their own country. A separate sense of isolation on top of the normal isolation that we're all having in our own homes. So it's a very important topic. Shirley, I'm going to go to you. Go ahead.
Hi, I was typing it into the comments too, but we work with a counseling group who have global online services with their therapists who live all over the globe. And it's called the Truman Group. And they offered 3 different seminars in different time slots just the other day to our staff, to the faculty. And so people could listen in, and then it's a situation where if someone wanted an individual chat with someone, they could book that through and use insurance. And so that's one piece of it. They've also been running webinars or seminars for our counselors, so that as a group, so that they could problem solve with them. And they are offering through the NISA region, they've been offering courses for counselors for support through this whole situation. So they've been a good resource for us.
Great, thank you so much, Shirley.
Yeah.
I had a chatted in question from Nandini Menon. Nandini, I'm unmuting you.
So hi, I'm in a school in New Jersey. We're a small private school, and we've gone all virtual. So we do a regular schedule as a Zoom session. But what we found, as you all said, teachers are most exhausted with this. So what we've done is we actually build in a lot of downtime for the teachers, and we just headed to spring break. So what we did is Thursday, we gave all the teachers off, and the students, so we're a K through 8 school. So there's a few of us in administration, and the 7th and 8th grade students who are going to take over and do fun activities all day with all the students so that the teachers get a mental well-being day. And what we've said is if the model works then, and if the school has to extend all the way through May, we're going to have more of these sessions so that the teachers get a break.
Oh, that's great, Nandini. Thank you for sharing that. I love the idea of the mental health day by kind of supporting the teachers to have a little bit of time off. That's great. I haven't heard that before. Thank you all for your comments. I'm going to turn it over to our president, Lisa Marie, to be mindful of your time. I know we are extremely online meeting heavy in all of our lives right now, so we'll try to keep this to the hour as scheduled. It will be recorded and put on our website. The Friday session was also recorded and put on the website. So if you want to hear from another group of 70 educators or so who brought up some different topics, I'd recommend you taking a look at that as well. And then please stay tuned for us. We'll be sending you out some more information about different spaces to share. And we really appreciated seeing you today. I think it was nice to see each other face-to-face in a time when we're not getting that personal connection. So thank you for sharing your experiences and being honest and vulnerable in the goal of us all getting through this with more positivity and grace and success. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over now to Lisa Marie.
Thank you very much, Kelly. And again, thank you all for participating. We've made numerous notes, as Kelly indicated, from the conversations, and we'll use the information to prepare our next sessions on topics of importance. The ideas that I had heard consistent with the last one was definitely communication, students, family. Staff didn't come up as much, but I thank Dan for pushing that forefront. That's also very good. Offering guidance and creativity and information sharing. And I did see a lot of chats going through indicating some great information sharing opportunities. Two other new items that we had not really talked about before in the last session, and I appreciate Michael Smith for bringing that up, the GDPR challenges, more from an international side, and heard a lot more today on managing senior activities. And I think this is very important as we move forward. As we indicated, we're trying to have the schools celebrate their successes by getting our accreditation processes done for the spring, but all the schools culminate in their senior activities or graduation activities that they have depending on the grade. So we appreciate this information, and we will look to share as much guidance that we have and other resources that we can have on our website and in future webinars. So thank you very much. We appreciate your participation.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll stay on the line for a couple of minutes here if you want to chat in any last questions, or if you want to jot anything down from the chat window, resources you might want to remember or keep in mind. So thank you so much and have a great rest of the day.